evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Monday, the 16th of November. India-Australia sealed civil nuclear agreement. Myanmar's parliament resumes sessions after polls. And Pakistan Army Chief General Raheel Sharif arrives in US on 5-day visit. And now for all the details. The terror attacks in Paris were under the spotlight at the G20 summit in Antalya, Turkey. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for a united global effort to combat terrorism.
The G20 summit in Turkey was expected to mainly discuss inclusive economic growth and climate change. But the Paris attacks late on Friday changed all that. World leaders at the platform, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, called for a comprehensive and unified response to terror.
The entire humanity must stand together as one against terrorism. The need for a united global effort to combat terrorism had never been more urgent.
India is no stranger to terror attacks. Just 7 years ago, the country witnessed one of its worst terror attacks when a series of 12 coordinated bomb attacks and shootings in the city of Mumbai resulted in the death of 164 people and wounded over 300. The Paris attacks appear to be a copy of that strike. India had blamed the Pakistan-based terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba for planning and conducting the Mumbai operation. This in turn soured relations between the two nuclear neighbours. And even as Pakistan arrested some of its alleged perpetrators, the trial itself has run into a roadblock.
हिंदुस्तान ने बिल्कुल एविडेंस दिए हैं, सारी रिपोर्ट दी हैं, उसके बाद भी पाकिस्तान उनके ऊपर कार्रवाई नहीं कर रहा है. यूएन का भी उसके ऊपर सपोर्ट है हिंदुस्तान को कि इनके ऊपर कार्रवाई की जाए. अमेरिका भी है, पर पाकिस्तान इसको किसी न किसी तरह से गोलमाल कर रहा है.
India has already seen 2 major terror attacks this year in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. The government has since enhanced security at urban centres and vulnerable locations.
I think the time has come they should chalk out a strategy, a detailed strategy to deal with the militancy, Otherwise, this half-baked strategy or plan will not help solve. One side they are dealing with the policy of good Taliban or bad Taliban or good terrorists or bad terrorists will not work.
The Paris attacks have put the spotlight back on enhancing security in countries like India, whose urban centres are particularly at risk of terror attacks.
India has finalized a civil nuclear deal with Australia, making it possible for New Delhi to buy uranium from Canberra. The announcement has come more than a year after the two nations signed a preliminary pact on the peaceful uses of nuclear energy. Here's a report.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Australian counterpart Malcolm Turnbull have announced the completion of all the procedures, including administrative agreement of India-Australia Civil Nuclear Agreement. The deal will now allow India to buy uranium from Australia for its nuclear programs. PM Narendra Modi thanked PM Malcolm Turnbull and described the nuclear agreement as a milestone and source of trust and confidence, Indian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Vikas Swarup tweeted. The announcement has come after both leaders met during the G20 summit held in Turkey. The nuclear cooperation agreement was signed in September last year after both nations agreed on a safeguards pact to sell uranium for peaceful power generation. India has less than 24 of small reactors with the capacity of 4,780 megawatt, that is only 2% of its total power capacity. The Indian government hopes to increase its nuclear capacity to 63,000 megawatts by 2032 by constructing over 30 reactors.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met President of European Council Donald Tusk and discussed trade issues. The meeting was held on the sidelines of 2 days G20 summit in Turkey. India expressed its concern over the ban on more than 700 Indian generic drugs by the Union. PM Modi also met Prime Minister of Spain, Mariano Rajoy, and Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in two separate meetings and discussed bilateral ties. The Turkish President Erdogan proposed India-Turkey Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement to boost trade and investment between two nations. Pakistani Army Chief General Raheel Sharif has arrived in Washington for a 5-day official visit. He will be meeting American military officials and political leadership to discuss various security issues, including military-to-military relations and regional security and stability. A report.
Pakistan's Chief of the Army Staff, General Raheel Sharif, will discuss key issues including Afghan government's negotiations with Taliban and regional counter-terrorism activities in South Asia with the US leadership. General Sharif will also inform American leadership of the ongoing Operation Zarb-e-Azb. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, National Security Advisor to U.S. President Ms. Susan Rice, General Raheel's counterpart General Mark A. Milley, and Chiefs of Staff General Joseph Dunn would be among his interlocutor during his stay in Washington. Pakistan's influential military chief's visit comes weeks after Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's meeting with U.S. President Barack Obama at the White House.
Exiled Baloch leader Braham Dag Bukti has called for unity among Baloch pre-independence parties and their leaders. Bukti had earlier clarified that there would be no compromise on Balochistan's independence when speculations were rife that he was willing to give up their nationality demand.
State authorities could only be defeated through unity. President of the Baloch Republican Party, or BRP, Nawab Braham Dag Bukti said, while inviting various pro-independence parties to unite by sorting out all differences. After achieving national unity, the BRP will accept the majority's decision on all issues, including negotiations with the state, he said. Commenting on reports regarding talks with Islamabad, Bukti said every movement had to come to the negotiating table for peaceful resolution. The BRP has been trying to resolve the Balochistan issue through political and peaceful means, but the Pakistani establishment and its security forces have always tried to suppress the Baloch movement at gunpoint, he said. Mineral-rich Balochistan, which is geographically the largest province of Pakistan, has been roiled by a decades-old insurgency by the ethnic Baloch people. They claim that their homeland was illegally annexed by Pakistan in 1948. The Baloch, who have never accepted being part of Pakistan, have for long accused successive governments in Pakistan of exploiting the rich natural resources of the region without providing due royalty.
A Pakistan parliamentary committee will inspect the progress of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or the CPEC project, after the government came under criticism for its reported plan to alter the route of the corridor. A report.
Members of a parliamentary committee will travel to Gwadar, Ratodro and Sukur on November 28th and 29th to inspect the project sites and to receive feedback from officials of the departments concerned. We have decided to visit Balochistan and Sindh by the end of this month to physically inspect the work on the project, Mushahid Hussain, chairman of the Special Parliamentary Committee on the CPEC, said. The decision was taken after opposition parties, including Pakistan People's Party and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, accused the government of changing the CPEC route in violation of the consensus reached in May at a political parties conference. The opposition parties have alleged that the government is discriminating against Sindh, Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa to extend maximum benefits to Punjab. Last week, leader of opposition in the National Assembly, Khurshid Ahmad Shah, wrote a letter to Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif raising concerns of his party. The CPEC aims to connect Gwadar port in southeastern Pakistan to China's northwestern region of Xinjiang via Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Once completed, the corridor will provide a network of roads for transport, telecommunications and energy infrastructure worth $46 billion. The project has also encountered difficulty in Balochistan due to a separatist movement in the region.
A drone strike has killed 12 Taliban militants in the eastern Nangarhar province of Afghanistan. Taliban's so-called district governor Noor Rahman is among the 12 insurgents killed in the drone strike. The strike took place in the Khogyani district bordering Pakistan, where the extremist group has been active for months. Rahman was involved in many terrorist and destructive activities in the district and other areas of Nangarhar province. According to Afghan officials, the dead included 3 Afghans and 9 foreigners. Fighters loyal to the Islamic State group who have fought with Taliban and government forces this year are also present in the province. Myanmar's parliament resumed its 13th session on Monday, days after democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi secured a majority in the country's first election in 25 years. Suu Kyi's NLD has so far won about 80% of the votes for the bicameral parliament. A report.
A week after the country's landmark general elections, Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi returned to the Myanmar Parliament fresh from a landslide election victory. The NLD remains cautious over the ongoing delicate power transition as the military's Union Solidarity and Development Party, or the USDP, which was overwhelmingly voted out of office in the elections, still has another 2.5 months in power to make laws that could neutralize the former's gains. With the result of only 3 seats yet to be declared, the electoral victory allows the NLD to form the next government and bring to end decades of military-backed rule in Myanmar. Meanwhile, the parliament has been discussing several bills. Suu Kyi is barred from the presidency by a military junta-drafted constitutional clause that prevents anyone with foreign family members from occupying the nation's top office. Suu Kyi's late husband was British and her children hold British passports. But the Nobel laureate has vowed that she will be above the next president, whom she will select from her National League for Democracy as a proxy.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. India-Australia sealed civil nuclear agreement. Myanmar's parliament resumed sessions after polls. And Pakistan Army Chief General Raheel Sharif arrives in US on 5-day visit. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.